everyone. Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I am your hostess and your melanated queen, Seven Wonder. All right. I want to say thank you to all the supporters out there. Thank you for supporting the channel. We're about positivity over here, not spreading hate. But with that being said, I think it's very important that we communicate the truth, okay? And the truth sometimes is not always easy to digest, all right? For some of those out there, you understand what I'm saying. All right, so I do try to pick my words carefully when I am conveying a message. But if anybody comes over here being disrespectful, I will handle that accordingly. But I really am not going to focus my attention too much on that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come on camera. Here I am, y'all. I'm actually talking into this microphone today. So hopefully you can hear me a whole lot clearer and better because I have a very light voice, y'all. Very light voice. And then also I'm going to try to bring myself up on my phone so I can know if I'm seen and heard and if I'm actually coming in clearly, y'all. Because sometimes we just don't know until we actually look for ourselves. Okay, little Raccoon Federation. Thank you. But what type? I'm so curious. What type of freaking name is this? I'm curious. Can you tell me why did you name yourself that? If you could please let me know. I have to know. Why did you name yourself that? Little Raccoon What does that mean? What does that mean? What in the world, y'all? This person said they're the Little Raccoon Federation. I am so curious to click on. Do you have a channel? I am just kind of curious, y'all. I'm so curious. You said hugs and kisses to one of the most intelligent ladies in the world. Who are you? Thank you, though. Hold on. Is it possible for me to click on your? Do you have a channel? Let me see if I can click on your channel. I'm gonna try to click on your channel. Oh, you don't have a. Do you have a channel? It looks like you do, or you did, or you don't. I'm not sure. Y'all, whether you know it or not, when y'all come into the comment section, I do go to your channels. I would like to see what your channels are about and stuff like that, just to get a feel for your energy. But thank you for joining. I appreciate you. All right, so without any further ado, you made me laugh for today. Thank you for these laughs and giggles. I appreciate you. We're going to get into some truth out here that many people might not be ready to hear. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. You all, I'm getting this from another YouTuber's channel. And if you'd like to check that out, you certainly can, because I don't want to steal anyone's work. Okay. Because I know that's a big thing in YouTube. They say that, oh, you got to give people credit. People be like real sensitive about that. So anyway, this guy is called Black Renaissance, but we're not listening to him. We're going to actually be listening to this guy named Tim Wise. He is a professor and he's giving.
Whoa, man, amazing.
I hate when they do that. He's giving a speech, right? But some of the things that he talks about, I feel like still resonates with us today. This has been going on for decades, and I'm just coming on and we're going to listen to what he has to say, y'all. All right, sorry, it's on mute.
White?
Hold on, let's go back.
Because they think whiteness is real, right? But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other before we figured out that.
Hold on for a second. We got somebody in the comment section named Best Damn Mom. What? And yellow and red girls are beautiful. Okay. All right. Anybody can be beautiful. And beauty is about your inner spirit, because you can be outwardly aesthetically look pleasing, but inward, if you're nasty looking, if you're a nasty individual, then you no longer are a beautiful person. Okay. And also, we celebrate our golden glowers over here, our bronze beauties, and our caramel cuties. All right. We're going to celebrate them all because we come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. But that's not the topic right here. We're talking about something else. So let's let this guy speak. I'm going to rewind it back, y'all.
Right? Because they think whiteness is real. Right? But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other before we figured out there were other people to kill. We just killed each other, right? I mean, that was the history of Europe. The English hated the Irish, right? Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. The Germans hated everybody, and everybody hated their ass right back, right? There was no team called white, no race called white, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1600s, there was. Why? Why was it suddenly necessary to create this thing called the white race? Well, because rich people can count, that's why. And so rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, you know, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants who were just one level above a slave. All
right, so I just want to touch on what let me see, Asper said. Everyone had war in their regions. This is very true. Whites are no different, except for the fact that they stopped a lot of it. Okay. He said, okay, David. All right, David. Well, you have your right to your opinion. Let's keep going because really I don't have time for ignorance. So if you come in here trying to be like disrespectful and rude, you're not going to get any attention.
Other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another or they're going to rise up and take our stuff.
In that sea of silence, where most who are called white would look.
Highlanders and lowlanders just fought the hell out of each other. So there was no white race, but in the colonies of what would become the elite do, when you see that you're outnumbered by black and white folks who are penniless, landless, peasants, you have to do one of two things. You either have to kill them all, but you can't do that because who's going to work? Rich folks weren't going to. They had to get poor people to work. The whole point was to be a person of leisure back in those days. That was the goal, was not to work. So you couldn't kill them all. You didn't want to kill them all. You had to do the work yourself. You had to build your own levee, build your own house. No, pick your own tobacco, harvest your own cotton. No, we're not going to do any of that. So you can't kill them, but you can co-opt them. And so the elite in Virginia, for example, in the colony, begins to give certain carrots.
All right, so since he touched on Virginia for a second, let's go into that because I used to reside in Virginia. And I do have to say that Virginia has a very big slave mentality. There are a lot of Virginians out there that still have a very, very handicapped slave mentality. And when I say that, it's not to criticize or ridicule anybody that's from that state, but you can tell that something took place there that definitely has a mental impact on the people because of the history that, you know, took place there. So I really, really hope people can free their minds, because once you're free in the mind, the body will follow. There are a lot of people that are physically free, but are not mentally free. So, you know, it's just it takes time, it takes education, it takes spreading knowledge, spreading real truth and information out there so people can really understand the fabric from which this society was founded, from which this country was founded. So shout out to Tim Wise for speaking this truth. Let's continue, y'all.
To people of European descent saying things like, you know, we're going to let you own a little land, not much, but just a little. And we're going to get rid of indentured servitude. Now you're free labor. And by the way, once you're free labor, you get 50 acres of land just because you're free labor, see? So we're going to cut you in on this deal. We're going to let you enter into contracts. We're going to let you testify in court. And here's the best of all, we're going to put you on the slave patrol to keep those people in line.
If you're not using AI in your content workflow, I genuinely don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what you're doing either. Let's skip this, y'all.
Deal was, you're still going to get your clock clean. We still don't like you. We still aren't going to really empower you or change your economic subordination, but we're going to make you honorary members of this team, and you're going to help us keep those other people down.
Tim Wise from Nashville, Tennessee, is not like the everyday white American. He never did feel less concerned, nor did look away from the sufferings of Black Americans. Bravely, this respectable individual has devoted so much effort in exposing just how the American system was designed.
Okay, a lot of people don't like for people, like Tim Wise to speak out on behalf of the truth out here. So they get very triggered, very bothered. They start coming into the comment section, posting stupid stuff in the chat section. Like that's going to stop me from talking about it because it's not. So let's continue on, everyone.
In the South, where I come from, standing up and openly admitting that the reason they're prepared to secede from the Union, and the only reason they ever articulated publicly, ever, was to maintain and extend slavery and white supremacy. Because you own them, who's going to get the job? Not me. In other words, slavery actually undermined the wages and the wage base, the economic floor of the typical white working class or low-income person. But they were told, if these people are freed, they're going to take your job. No, fool, they got your job. That's the point. And so at some level, again, working class white people being harmed by white privilege, relatively being advantaged, right? Being given a leg up, being given a membership to the club, but in absolute terms being kept economically subordinated by the very thing that gave them a sense of superiority. How's that for irony?
So for some reason, y'all are attacking me from playing the words of Tim Wise. Y'all really sound triggered. And like I said, hit dogs have been hollering every time I play videos over here. I don't understand. It's very ironic that y'all are very hypocritical. If you want someone to attack, you need to attack the people that are like you, that look like you, that are speaking these truths and these facts, that are coming onto public platforms with their narratives that have a lot of truth in them. And it sounds like you can't handle the truth. So you're attacking the wrong person. Thank you, KK. You said haters are going to hate. They're going to always hate. And as long as they have those hateful spirits and hateful souls, this heaven that they think that they're going to get to, because a lot of them say that they believe in the Bible, they believe in Christianity, they believe in Jesus, even though we know there was no letter J. And then we know that the Bible was written by Shakespeare. He wrote some of that Bible, y'all, because they don't like to fact check. They don't like to do their digging and research, and they like to tell themselves lies in their head and speak their own narratives that further their agendas. They're always going to be hit dogs hollering. They're always going to be very mad at themselves because they know that they come from a hateful lineage, and unfortunately their people are the reason that this country is messed up the way that it is today, because they came over here with their hateful rhetoric. But let's continue and let Tim Wise speak his truth.
In the present era, this hasn't stopped. This is not ancient history. Now we have people running around insisting that we should close the border with Mexico, because if we don't, the wages of working class people will continue to fall. The implication being that the only reason workers are paid like crap in this country is because the border is open. But if you...
No, I had no interest in watching the Charlie Kirk memorial. This is not about Charlie Kirk. This is actually about debunking some of his ill-informed rhetoric.
Believe that, you would actually have to believe that if that border were closed, that all these owners of capital and industry would just say, oh, well, you figured us out. Here, it's a raise. Do we really believe that the only thing keeping bosses from paying people more is the presence of low-wage, medium, semi-skilled labor from south of this artificial border? Is that really what we believe? We know that if that border is closed, it isn't going to be closed to capital. It isn't going to be closed to goods. If you have a border that can be crossed by capital looking for the highest return on investment, or goods looking for the highest price, but labor is chained to its country of origin, how is that going to work to the benefit of working people? By definition, it doesn't. By definition, it immiserates the working class. Divide and conquer.
By breaking ranks, Mr. Wise inspired others to re-examine their own biases against Black people and set their paths straight. His unconventional perspective shed light on hidden truth.
They're very mad, y'all.
40%.
Embarrassing story, but I can't.
They're very, very mad because somebody that looks like them is telling the truth on them.
Rate, heavy working class community, And right across the canal, St. Bernard Parish, Chalmette, 95% white, also working class, high levels of poverty, economically very similar. And at the end of the day, in those first few days of September 2005, more similar than they probably would have realized. Because when those levees broke, they all got their stuff jacked. They all got their stuff destroyed. But if you had asked white folks in Chalmette, and I've done it, who was the cause of the problems in the greater New Orleans area prior to that flooding, they would have pointed across that canal at those black folks, wouldn't have called them black folks, and would have said, there, that's the problem. 70% of the white folks in St. Bernard Parish voted for David Duke, white supremacist, neo-Nazi, former head of the largest Ku Klux Klan group in the United States when he ran for governor in 1991. 7 out of 10 gladly voted for him because he was blaming black folks for all of their problems, and they bought it. What's the irony? The irony is that—
All right, let's stop right there, because I think this is a learning point right here where it says that, you know, white people like to blame, quote unquote, black people. I don't identify with the term black, by the way, but I would say Native American, indigenous people, American Indians of this land, they like to blame us, right? But we know the truth in every nationality, every race, every culture is that there are problematic people all across the board, no matter if you're a female, male, whatever you identify with, right? There are problematic people across the globe. So this whole thing about blaming one another, what this video is about is an eye-opening, awakening, and enlightenment of the truth of things that have caused this country to get to where it is today. And I think a lot of people, like I said, they can't handle the truth when you start, you know, letting the magnification of what they've done be known to people as a whole in society. They get very triggered and bothered, and they start talking about things that has nothing to do with the subject matter. I want to give a special shout out to the, let me see, somebody, even Nar, you said, even Nar, or Evan Nar, I'm sorry. You said that your family is Native American, Cherokee to be exact, not black. I do agree with that. You know, not all of us subscribe to being called black. This is something that, you know, the quote unquote colonizer came up with back in like the 1700s to be very divisive. So if you're coming in here saying that I'm spreading hate, I'm only playing information that is on a public platform. And if you can't handle that, you can definitely see your way out. Michael George, nobody's living like a victim. We are being victimized, even though we try to overcome it. It's people like you that continue, you know, the hate and the fuel. You keep it going. And I don't believe in being on the left or the right. So because y'all think that someone has to be put into a box, that's very evil. And if people don't agree with your rhetoric, it's like you're automatically ready to attack and assault them. That is very divisive and is very hateful. And I really hope you go pray to the Jesus that you believe in and get some help. Tracy B, some of them don't look human, like Elon Musk. I don't really believe he's a real human being at all. What somebody said, ice. Oh, what conversations are y'all having? Even Nar says, look up the Bible and Shakespeare. It takes 2 seconds to look up and find that it was fake and spread that the KJV, the King James Version of the Bible. Very true, Evan. I can tell you've done your research. Yes, I'm making America great again, Apache Tomcat, by spreading truth over here on this channel and enlightening and awakening the people. Yes. You said the less conservatives understand, the less they want to learn and the more they want to destroy. Yeah, white fatigue is real and black fatigue is real. I'm actually not going to say black fatigue. I'm going to say white inferiority complex is real. And I'm also going to say that, you know, ignorance fatigue is real. We'll say that. Neil Yarger looks very, yeah, he wants his 2 seconds of fame because this is all the attention he'll ever get in his lifetime. So y'all make sure y'all give him the attention he's seeking. David Duke knows who controls U.S. government. Okay. Oh, by the way, You know, all of you over here that came to try to be negative, I want y'all to know that Jimmy Kimmel is going to be back on ABC again. So he's been reinstated. So y'all should be happy. Why don't y'all go over there and show him some support? Marginalized and oppressed. Here we go. Who said that? Signosis. You sound kind of idiotic because nobody said that. So now you're making up narratives like you always do. Yes, I agree. Ghetto trash is disgusting. White trash is disgusting. All of it is disgusting. Ignorance is disgusting. I don't subscribe with it, you know, the ghetto mentality. If you ever took the time to look at my videos, you will see that because I don't come from the ghetto. What does black fatigue mean? So Aurora, they're saying black fatigue is like you're getting tired of the ignorance of black people. And I think we're just tired of the ignorance of all people. You know how they say Black Lives Matter, which I really don't subscribe to that group. Then they like to come along and say, oh, well, white lives matter too. So it's kind of like saying black fatigue, which I'm going to consider ignorance fatigue is what we have going on here. You said this is a propaganda video, but you know what? Propaganda is in all media, sweetheart. Since you want to call me sweetheart, it's in all media. Propaganda is in all media. Even commercials that you watch is propaganda. People complained in every generation, yet every generation has had it better than the last. So yes, it's getting a little better, but I don't think we're where we should be as a nation as a whole by any stretch of the imagination. We're not where we should be. You know, because if we were where we should be, we shouldn't have all this divisiveness, all this hostility, and all this anger. Ether Jumper, they are religious zealots that are literally making plans to bring about Armageddon. Oh, Robert Hayes. I don't really know what the definition of a grifter is, but I'm glad you think you have a lot of knowledge to speak on the subject matter. That's not what this video is about. You said black fatigue is an international phenomenon. Even blacks have BF. So it is international that we are tired of ignorance, Asper. What up? The blackish cracker. Ooh, that's interesting. You said facts, you're American. You said let your culture be subpar and neglected for years and then blame someone else for your problems. So I don't know what culture you're talking about, but it looks like your culture is subpar because they're over in the comment section worrying about what I'm talking about. And then they're getting, you know, very triggered about it. So that sounds like being subpar to me. Okay. Black on black crime is off the charts. Even black people are sick of the ghetto. You know, white on white crime is off the charts. So since we want to speak about it, let's talk about this white on white crime. Let's talk about this white on white crime. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about all the bombings that go on every time we go to war. Let's talk about the fact that y'all are the ones, your people, you know, are the ones that had the Jews going to, you know, Holocaust camps and putting them into gas chambers. You know, they basically killed thousands upon thousands of people. And then every time they go to war, thousands of people have to DIE all in the name of what they think they're right about. So when you want to talk about crime, I would say that white on white crime is really off the charts in comparison. It's just that y'all always try to smooth the narrative over in the name of warfare, which I don't believe that your Lord and Savior Christ Jesus wants you KILLING one another. I think that is very, very egregious behavior. And I think your savagery needs to stop. Why don't you go figure that out and talk to your presidents and your politicians about that? All this white on white crime, y'all needs to stop. You said stop race baiting. You're the one race baiting. I was over here talking about Tim Wise. So let's get back to it, y'all, because y'all are idiots. Let's keep going.
While they were blaming black people for their problems, while they were blaming black people for the conditions of the greater New Orleans area in which they lived, nobody was paying attention, least of all they, to the fact that these white elite politicians, either in Baton Rouge or in Washington, whose job it was to secure those levies, to make sure that levy funds were spent in the proper way and that they were spent at all.
Hello guys, welcome once again to the channel. I hope you
All right. And we're gonna go ahead and Okay, so we're going to stop that right there because I don't want to keep dragging that on. Hold on one second, y'all. All right. Yeah, I mean, they're coming in the chat section thinking that that's going to stop me from talking, but it's not going to stop me from speaking about what I want to talk about. If you don't like it, you can definitely leave, sign off. You don't have to be here. You know, this is for the people that would like to listen.
Time they had a city council meeting, parish council meeting after the flooding. The lights aren't even on yet. The water isn't even hooked up. And the first order of business was to pass an ordinance saying that you couldn't rent property in St. Bernard Parish to anyone who wasn't a blood relative. Now, I'll leave it to your imagination as to why you'd want to pass a law. That law had never existed before. But now that it's been emptied out and you don't know who might come back, that's a damn good way to keep black people out, isn't it? Because if you're not...
So you're saying that I'm not telling the truth. Hold on. Who said that? You're not telling the truth. Oh, my goodness. Taylor Austin, I'm not the one talking. Your boy, Tim Wise, is talking. So why don't you direct this towards Tim Wise? Why don't you direct your comments towards Tim Wise? Because I'm not speaking. Tim Wise is. That's your boy.
5% white to begin with. If you pass an ordinance that says that, that's a great... You can't say no blacks need apply. You can't say no blacks allowed, but that was an ingenious way to get around the law. Now, they got caught. There was a lawsuit threatening. They got rid of the ordinance. But my point in bringing it up is to say, once again, divide and conquer is working. These white folks in Chalmette need to march across that canal and join hands with the black folks who've been sitting there more than willing to work with them for an awful long time, and march on Baton Rouge and march on DC and march on the Corps of Engineers and recognize their commonality of interest.
Oh, as a matter of fact, hold on, y'all. You said that still doesn't tell you what black fatigue is. Go look it up. So anyway, y'all want to talk about black on black crime. Y'all are foreshadowing and overshadowing those innocent children that were shot up at that school. I think that happened in Denver and Minnesota. And this was done by white people, y'all. White people shooting up white children. And, you know, they keep having these mass shootings. I'm trying to understand why did this keep happening and why they're not addressing the problem. Little Timmy is building bombs in his mom's basement. Y'all remember Columbine? Like, why don't y'all fix the problems, you know, amongst your people while you come over here trying to attack this channel for speaking truth and actually for allowing your own people to speak the truth about yourselves? Y'all hate to point the finger back at yourselves. You know, they say, be careful who you point the finger at because you have how many more pointing back at yourself? But y'all hate to do that. Okay? Y'all hate it. Somebody's laughing. Bye. Bye. It's not hate. It's not hate. Y'all so triggered. I don't vote Democrat, Chris. Look, he thinks he knows the truth about everything. I don't vote Democrat. So that's where you're incorrect. You see how they like to make assumptions all the time? This is very dangerous behavior, y'all. When people just assume stuff and then they take action on it. That's how your boy CK got murked, because people just, you know, assume stuff. They got mad, they got triggered and took him out. And, you know, I actually think that this was done by people close to him. I actually think that people in his own camp had him taken out. Y'all need to go attack those people, not me. Your girl Candace Owens has been caping for him. She put on her Superman cape and she's been trying to avenge his DEATH. And she's also been trying to do a lot of research. You know, she's the FBI at this point. She's been the one trying to investigate. Why don't y'all go over there and try to help your boy out? Go help Candace Owens try to avenge your boy's DEATH. Okay? Tim Wise, go ahead and speak your truth.
But the whiteness and the lure of whiteness has tricked these have nothing in their bank account white people into believing that they got more in common with the rich white folks on St. Charles Avenue that didn't lose anything in that flooding than they have in common with the black working class folks who live about 500 yards away.
Supporting Tim Wise's claims, several studies show that racial disparities in income, wealth, education, imprisonment, and health outcomes persist to this day. The beliefs and narratives that Black Americans have about institutional harm have long been studied by scholars in the health and social sciences and the humanities. Narratives about...
All right. So it looks like we can't watch the video because y'all want to have a conversation in the chat. So let's go at it, okay? Usually I don't even give people my attention like this because I don't think they're worthy. But let's go ahead and talk about it, okay? Because this is opening up a dialogue if they are mature enough to have an adult conversation. We'll see where this goes. So even Nar said, sorry, I'm not, oh, it's hard to see. It says, I'm not left or right. I think that whole thing is stupid. Me too. I agree with even Nar. I agree. I don't identify with either side, but a lot of people come over here making assumptions. You said Black people continue to hate and racism. I'm in Roxbury, Massachusetts, and these people are tearing the city apart. Kevin, there's a lot of racism going on from all different sides, primarily from, the Caucasoids and the Caucasians. And if they are tearing the city apart, I think that needs to be addressed as well. I don't agree with anybody tearing a city apart. I don't agree with people not upholding their neighborhoods. I don't agree with people going and killing one another. I don't agree with people being egregious with hateful rhetoric from either side. But we know that these antics stemmed from somewhere. And I'm not blaming white people for Black people being ignorant against one another. I'm not blaming white people for that, because that's something that melanated people need to fix in their own culture, in their own society. I'm not targeting white people from that. But what Tim Wise is saying is that basically you can see that they have developed this narrative to blame melanated people for a lot of things that they're doing to this country. And it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. You like Vanilla Ice? He got that hit song from, never mind. I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, you said voting Republican gets you what? I don't know, life. I'm not sure what it gets you. I think that, people should actually support the independent party a little bit more. But I think what it is because they have the money behind them. They have people put up the money for either Democrat or Republican. So people know more about those candidates. That's why we either go, this country either goes left or right. So maybe if they had like an independent, that were able to, come into office, it might be a little bit different. I don't know, but that's just something to think about. Chris, you said that's dehumanizing, saying we don't look human. I said Elon Musk does not look human to me. He doesn't. I've always said that he looks like something different. And you say if I were called a gorilla, I'd be offended. I'm not offended because I already know I don't look like that. Okay. And if we really want to be honest about who shares DNA with what animals, I don't think y'all want to have that conversation. Okay. Yeah, call someone an alien and expect people to believe anything that comes. It's not coming out of my mouth. It's coming out of Tim Wise's mouth, Apache. Guess what? The top violent offenders. Actually, that's incorrect, Wretched. You are basically spreading lies and hate speech at this point, because if we want to talk about the top offenders, let's talk about all these sex offenders out here that go and get people and get little boys and children in the Catholic churches and sodomize them. And then you have, these Caucasians that go out here and they have very pedophilic behavior. This is going on a very massive scale. And I think y'all need to tend to that as well, because it's very weird behavior. And let's not even talk about the fact that, your people, some of them, not all, but they like to go kidnap people and, unalive them and eat their body parts, put them in the freezer. I think y'all should actually, find out why y'all have these psychological issues. That's not human. I don't understand what human wants to do that to other humans. Y'all take it to a whole different level. That's craziness. Elon Musk is not more African. He just, he migrated, Robert. He migrated, okay? But he doesn't have more African DNA in his blood than me. You sound crazy. Sharpton has praised Diddy for embodying Black excellence and noted a pattern of wealthy. Okay, Sharpton has praised Diddy for embodying Black excellence. I don't think that Diddy embodies Black excellence. I think that what Diddy did, y'all, hold on. I'm going to tell you what I think Diddy did, since y'all want to talk about it. Okay, because y'all know he's locked up right now. Unfortunately, he was his own demise from all the stuff that he was doing. But I think it's deeper than the stuff that he was doing. I think it has something to do with that deal that he had with Deleon. that liquor company. This is what Diddy had to say, y'all. This is what he had to say. Hold on. Let's play the video.
I will be saying something about it. I'm in amazement on what's going on in the world. But hey, who am I? I am somebody. Even I get tired of this, man. Woo. It's too much cooning and buffooning, y'all. Too much. We all guilty of it. But damn. I can't believe this is what hip hop has become, man. I just can't. My mind is like blown, man. So y'all need to watch some documentaries on hip hop. People don't even know what hip hop is. Netflix has this great documentary on hip hop, the history of hip hop. I know, I think Steve Stout did one. Just go to YouTube, man. Go to YouTube, man. Man, somebody called me. I just seen, man. So I'm staying off my social devices. It's too much cooning and buffooning. Too much cooning and buffooning. And believe me, when I get my thoughts together, I'm gonna figure out a way to articulate myself. Because this conversation ain't even for the whole world. It's just for us. Believe me, they saying you cooning and buffooning. Oh, believe me. And they loving every minute of it. And I'm not one to cast no stone, but damn it, I know when to stop. So I just wish everybody luck and positive energy. I know this is going way over some people's heads. We're going to end it like this. Lord, please, Lord, just.
Yeah. I don't know what he was talking about. I mean, yes, we understand. He said it was too much cooning and buffooning. I get it. There are people out here right now doing that type of stuff. But he said we're all guilty. I don't. Get down. I don't consider myself one of those. I don't coon and buffoon. I don't tap dance for quote unquote massa. That's why a lot of people are over here in the comment section, talking to me now, getting mad and stuff, because I don't feel the need to do that. I don't feel the need to feed their egos. I don't feel the need to apologize about, the truth that's out there about the history of this country, about real people having real experiences. But Puffy, what I want to say to your comment that you put up on the screen, Sharpton praising Diddy, I'm not praising him because he just said he was cooning and buffooning too, right? I don't subscribe to that type of behavior in any stretch of the imagination. I don't care who that person is. That's not Black excellence, okay? And that's how he got some of his wealth. Let's be honest. Yes, Joy Laffner said the Bible is full of lies and made to control and manipulate. Very true, by the way. Chris S. said, you just did racist. I don't know what y'all were talking about. During the creation of this nation, we have had indentured servitude. Yes, this is very true. Then a Black man argued that he should be able to keep a man in servitude his entire life. That's how slavery in America was born. If that's what you think, Taylor. There were also white indentured servitude slaves, white indentured slaves that they hit. And actually Tim Wise spoke on that as well. Robert Hayes said, oh my God, you're a racist. Okay, if you think so, that's your opinion. You said white elite. They're not elite, Trishy. They're not. There's nothing elite about how they think. When you come from a contention of hate in your heart, and everything that you think about yourself is supreme over everybody else, that is basically, they're not elite. They have to give themselves false narratives, and they're very triggered when people tell them the truth about themselves. Yeah, double standards is a B, Farmies. Yep, you said Africans sold Africans. We're very aware of that. You said, thank you. I'm sick of the BS. Okay. Sharpton is a joke too. I don't subscribe to Al Sharpton, y'all. Now, it's going to be people who don't agree with me on that. I don't subscribe to Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson. I am so tired of them being pushed as civil rights activists, and we're going to have the Million Man March. They marched and marched and marched all in DC. And where did that get us? I don't see where it got us anywhere. And even Farrakhan has his faults as well. I do listen to him sometimes from time to time, but nobody is perfect. So we got to start there. There's nobody walking this globe that's going to be perfect, but there are narratives that are pushed. And I feel like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson has not really done us any good as an entirety as a society. Those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. You don't have to agree with it. And it's just from what I have observed. Okay. In 2018, Trump disbanded our pandemic response teams, resulting in the spread of a virus that killed over 3 million and created, hold on, let me see this. 3 million people and created worldwide economic hardships that continue to this day. Are you talking about the COVID? Are you talking about that? COVID? Is that the virus that you're talking about? Because you said in 2018. I think that hit in 2020, but I think they were already working on formulating that, because we know that these viruses that come, some of these are done in a laboratory, y'all. Check out the AIDS virus. I watched a documentary on that with scientists, and they said that this was actually done by the government as well. You said there were a lot of Black slave owners. Of course, you're going to say that Black fatigue isn't real. Okay. They literally think today is the rapture. Violence like the things happening in Chicago, New York, LA, Florida. Oh, wait, that's Black crime. Wretched Art, I'm not going to say that there is not Black crime. Like I said, everybody needs to get it together. So I don't know what your point is, but yeah, we need to get it together. Okay. Kami Kim. Okay, you don't like Jimmy Kimmel? OJ did it. I don't think OJ did it, y'all. I really don't think OJ did it. They couldn't prove it. If y'all didn't have Detective Van Etter and Mark Furman trying to stage a crime scene, violating the rights, of OJ Simpson, maybe he would have been locked up. But because, you had these racist cops using the N-word and, basically trying to frame an innocent, what you like to classify as Black person, this is why OJ got off. So your own people caused that to happen. So don't direct it towards me. Why don't you seek out Detective Van Etter and Mark Furman, who were forced to resign because they were guilty of what they did, staging a murder scene. Now, if you tell me that's not hateful, that's very hateful, y'all. That's very hateful. Sprinkling little droplets of blood out of a little tube, trying to frame him and placing, the bloody glove that did not fit, according to Johnny Cochran. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. And that's what happened. He got acquitted. So blame your people for that. Okay? Blame your people about that. OJ didn't do it. He wrote a book that said, if I did it. He didn't say he did it. Okay. You said slavery in Africa is much alive. It is alive. Thank you for pointing that out. We're in America. So I'm speaking from an American perspective. And, unfortunately, there's nothing that I can personally do to make this world stop slavery. I'm speaking about it. I have a platform on it. Okay. So thank you for pointing that out. You said F Jimmy Kimmel. Ooh, well, go let Jimmy Kimmel know how you feel. Tell him how you feel, Apache Tomcat. You said, yep, our dollars still matter. Okay. Don't care, never did. You have a right to not care. Ooh, you don't like Jimmy Kimmel at all. Okay. You said you had the pandemic response team stationed in China that would have contained the outbreak in Wuhan, but Trump disbanded them, bragging that he didn't want to pay people just to stand around. That is craziness, Steffelson. No one watches ABC or Jimmy Kimmel. I don't watch it either. Taylor Austin. Not going to happen. Kimmel is trash. Ooh, y'all definitely don't like him. Why ain't you? I don't even know. Jay, please understand how to form a correct sentence structure, okay? Because your grammar is way off. I can't even read what you're trying to say or what you're trying to convey. Another person spreading hate because they think someone else spread hate. Where's the love? God bless you and keep you. God bless you too, Dorothy, and God bless your brain and your comprehension level. I hope that you get it together and some understanding as well. These companies only understand one thing, and that's aggression. Okay. Racism is disgusting, Alan. I agree. Why are people pushing socialism and communism? Did you want to be ruled by old white rich men? I don't know what you mean by that. APAC is evil. Okay. Not just the ignorance. Dems have their number one liar back on half the channels he barely had. Native Americans like me and a lot of us don't have African in us. Thank you, Ro, for pointing that out, and are not like you and don't understand Black people were only brought here as slaves by the white man. Fact check. And Native had slaves. Okay, Ro. Black fatigue happening right now. BLM was a scam. Black Lives Matter is a scam. You all know that I don't support that narrative either. And that is funded by George Soros. Okay. So anytime George Soros is funding this, I don't trust it. Yes, ghetto fatigue is real. Trust me, most white men are. Woo, Sid. All right now. Okay. Robert said you're boring. Well, if I'm boring, why are you here? Leave. I don't care if you think I'm boring. I think you're ignorant. Okay. But thank you for commenting. Thank you for tuning in. Tired of their violence and entitled attitude. Yeah, I'm tired of, the white people being entitled and their very violent attitudes toward all the countries in this world. I'm tired of it too. Some black people don't look human. Is that cool to say? You can say that because that's your opinion, Farmies. I mean, if you feel that way, you feel that way. I'm not going to get upset about it. Yeah, I mean, y'all think that I'm going to be like emotionally invested into your comments, and I'm not going to do that because it's not worth it. Even this live, okay. BLM is a scam to collect money based on sympathy. Okay. You said stop supporting this propaganda. Okay. I am white and I have 2 African-American kids. I am raising them to be good people. Good for you, Christopher. I don't know what TIL means. Dim by all media outlets. Damn, I don't know what that means. I don't know. We are worse off than our parents. The wealth disparities are slipping from how they used to be. A smartphone isn't enough to make up for that. Okay. Play Impractical is on all media is propaganda because it's not on all media. Okay. Yeah, I can't read all these comments. Y'all are posting a lot and I'm trying to get through some of these. There is no end of days. You said Jesus lied about it. No, that's not okay, Patrick. If he is dressed in blackface marking, I don't know who Karl Malone is. And I don't think that's okay. You said, take care of your chat makes me sick to my stomach. Okay, I'm sorry, Sid. Sid, well, I would give you a wrench, but I think you're already gone. You said Jimmy Kimmel is great. The Quran praises Jesus. Stop crapping on another religion without knowing your own Matazwar, man. Okay. All right. Oh, you said, do I like Trump, Michelle? I don't know Donald Trump personally. I find him to be entertaining. Me to say whether I like Trump or not, I really can't say whether or not. I don't know that man personally for me to say if I like him or not. What I can see is that he is a very entertaining individual and he is a very passionate individual about what he believes in. I will say that. Okay. That's all I can tell you. There are some things, that he said that I did agree with, and there might be some things that I disagree with. So I don't know if you're trying to get me to say, oh, yes, I like Trump, or no, I don't like him. I don't really know him personally to know if I like him or not. I just think he's very interesting and very passionate. Okay, let's see what else y'all are talking about. You said we should be talking about politicians believing and trying to bring about the biblical end of days. Okay. Okay, y'all. Let me keep going. You said I'm obviously on the left. If that's how you feel, Robert, you really can't put me in a category. But since you think you have done that, credence to you if that's how you feel. All right. You said MAGA is woke and canceling people. That is craziness. Communists are about to be irrelevant. Why do y'all base what? First of all, Morgan, you said, why do y'all base whether you like Trump, whether you like someone or not on if they like or support Trump? Okay. Yeah, I don't see what that has to do with anything. Meanwhile, white people joke about black people day in and day out, but y'all come on here on her page saying she's spewing hate, talking about the truth. Hypocrisy. They're very hypocritical, Trishy. They're very hypocritical. They'll always be that way. Always. What does this country have to do to reunite and stop the hate towards each other? As an American, I must have color blind because I don't see color. I judge a person by the way they treat me. Thank you, Carlos. Finally, somebody that has said something in the chat that actually reaches out to the entire globe. I don't think that as children, we're born into this world seeing people for all these different titles and stuff like that. Now, we do see color. So technically we physically see color, right? But I know that you're saying judging a person, you don't judge people on color. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Other major, Trisha, I'm going to make you a moderator. Hold on. Let me see if I can find you. Let me see. Trishy. Sorry. I'm going to see if I can find your comment and I'm going to make you a moderator. Hold on. Let's see. Where are you at? Here you go. Okay. There you go, Trisha. You will now have a wrench. And I think Sid, I'm going to give him a wrench as well, but I think he already left. Okay, let's keep going. I value your opinion. Cease Mills, thank you so much. So am I for Trump? Am I for Trump? I can't say that I'm for Trump or against Trump because I'm still trying to understand what Trump is doing, y'all. It's a lot going on in that White House. It's a lot going on. And I really don't, what I don't do is wait for politicians to come and save me. I don't wait for a president to come and save me and change my life because on a microcosm level, that's going to be up to me. That's going to be up to me to do that. I'm going to have to be the one to change my own life and do things for myself. I don't wait for a president or a political candidate to do that for me. BLM made a lot of money and have nothing to show for it. Like third world governments make money and disappear. Interesting. You said you just came in and you're asking. So I just told you, Michelle, those are my thoughts on Trump. Okay. It's not a white black thing. It's really not. If you really look into what's going on in this country, it's more divisive to have black against white. If y'all read the Willie Lynch letter, I don't know. I think a lot of people in this comment section haven't read it. And then I've already read the Willie Lynch letter on this channel, but I think I'm going to refresh and do that again because I think people need to go and do some research. Racism and ignorance still prevail one by one. Our mission to live in love. Exactly right. Okay, I see that you're asking, Michelle Bay. I already answered your question. You said white people don't have countries. LOL. The only reason why white and black is an issue is because people like you keep talking about it and making it an issue, causing division. No, Hermans, people like your people keep causing division. So you might want to, you see, you're over here miseducating yourself with rhetoric that came out of your own narrative. You need to listen to what I'm saying. And obviously you're not doing a good job at your comprehension level. Political violence in this country comes largely from the right wing. Okay. What does Israel have on Trump? I don't know, Lawrence. I don't know. I have no idea what Israel, maybe you should go and talk to their leader and find out if they will allow you to have that political conversation. I'm pretty sure they're not going to let you behind those closed doors to hear the conversations that are had. So a lot of this stuff, we're like collateral damage in this country. A lot of these things that go on have something to do with these, deals that they make with one another to further their own personal agendas. And we're just collateral damage as a country. What about Obama? Patrick Curley, first of all, if you want my real opinion about Obama, I don't believe that he is the person that we think he is. I did my own research on him. I found out after the fact that he was elected into office, a lot of things about him that I did not agree with. Okay. And I don't think he did a lot for this country, honestly. And that's my opinion on Obama. Now, you can agree to disagree, or you can, not agree with it. I mean, I really don't care, but that's just my personal opinion on Obama. Okay. You said, wait, it's not white people. It's elite rich people. They are most likely white. This is true. Nana Yabini. This is very true. Nona Yabini. That is very true. Americans are divided by race and party, and foreigners are taking over. Very true, Joe Kane. I don't think anybody's paying attention to that. Do y'all understand how many foreigners are coming over here? Even though he tried to close that border, because I think that was a big issue too. But they are taking over. Very good observation. I'm witnessing that as well. You said, I have white friends, black friends, Mandarin friends, and we all agree on one thing. Racism is a scam meant to hold certain people back. I do agree with that as well. Very, very true. Well, yeah, you're not going to be emotionally invested. Your mama and daddy obviously didn't, hence why you hear attention seeking. I'm not attention seeking, but it looks like you are. So everybody, let's give Brandon Lee his 2 seconds of attention that he probably didn't get from his family. I hope you feel better about yourself. All right. Now you go make America great again if you can. Okay. It's meant to cause division so we all don't like each other. Very true. Trump Foundation and Trump universities were scams. Instead of arguing about color. I'm not arguing about color. It looks like a lot of y'all are arguing about color. TIL, today you learned. You said, is whiteface okay? C Mills, I don't see people doing whiteface. Do you see people doing that? Oh, you know who did do that? Sean and Marlon Wayans did it in White Chicks. They did. They did do whiteface in White Chicks. Did y'all watch that video? Did y'all watch that movie? Y'all know the Wayans brothers, they did do that. What is it okay? Well, are clowns okay? Because they put on whiteface. I don't know. Why don't we all get together for coffee and talk about it in person? Y'all, you so funny. That makes too much sense, Hermana. I mean, we can talk about it here. What does Israel have on Trump? Lawrence, why don't you go ask Trump that? Why don't you go ask those people about what Israel has on Trump? Okay. You said, I'm white and I believe God created us all equal. We're all brothers and sisters from Adam and Eve. Jesus loves us all. If we can just put our differences aside, we can realize no one is better than anyone. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that does not think that way, Tanks. Okay. Everyone must end as it begins. Do you like Kamala Harris? C Mills. I personally was not a fan of Kamala Harris. I'm going to be honest. I was not a fan, and I was very offended by some of her antics when she was running on the campaign. I was offended by that campaign where she invited Beyonce to speak. And why I'm offended by that is because I feel like they need to stop having entertainers come into politics if they don't actually practice and study politics. What is an entertainer going to tell me about politics if their main primary source of making a way of living for themselves is singing and dancing and entertaining? I don't think that they should be pushing the narrative to push Beyonce and Jay-Z to the Democratic candidates. I don't think they should be using, what's her name? Megan Thee Stallion, at a political campaign. That's very offensive to me. Shaking and twerking across the stage. I don't think ladies should carry themselves like that on a public platform in front of political candidates. And I found that to be very offensive. I also found it very offensive that she's trying to tie herself to an ethnic race to basically try to prove that she fits in and that she can, I guess, relate to people. I don't feel that you should have to do that. Like, I didn't agree with those antics, and that turned me off. And then it seemed like she swayed a lot. First she said, I guess you tried to say that she was Indian, which she does have Indian lineage. Her mother's Indian. So, I mean, if your mother's from India, just go ahead and, tell the truth about it. And then she said, she was, I guess, African American, which I don't subscribe to that title either. So I guess she was trying to relate to certain people. I didn't agree with that. Okay. Jimmy Kimmel is a joke. He doesn't deserve his show, but our speech should not be controlled. Definitely agree. I don't watch his show, by the way. What does Israel have on every politician? Joe King? I don't know. They want Black people to pay attention to politics desperately. I'm a Republican and I do not like Trump that much. I wish Vance was in office. Interesting. Why do you, Hermans, why do you subscribe more to Vance than Trump? I'm curious to know that. I like Jimmy, especially when he is mocking Trump. Now that is funny, John. That was funny. Yeah. I just think that Donald Trump is funny with his mannerisms when he talks and he does all those hand gestures. Kamala Harris was an awful choice. We need actual leftists leading Democrats. Okay. What does Israel have on Trump? Freedom of speech. He cares who has the most important thing, but he said some questionable things. Are you talking about Vance? Okay. Has anyone told you how beautiful you look today? And I agree a lot of what you're saying. Some people just can't handle the truth. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate you. Here's the problem with the Muslims saying, read your book. If the Quran is true, that means the Bible is true, which means the Quran can't be true because the word of God cannot be corrupted. Kamala wasn't even voted in by her constituents. They just placed her there after realizing wasn't going. Oh, you're saying after realizing Biden wasn't going to handle it. Okay. Okay, so Kelly thinks it's hate grifting. Okay, Kelly, we're actually having a conversation in the chat, but okay. I support Trump. That does not mark. Are you trying to say you support Trump that does not make people racist? Is that what you're saying? What kind of hate speech? I don't know what type of hate speech she's talking about. Trump divided this country. Joe King, let's think about that. You said Trump divided the country, or do we divide ourselves? Are we dividing ourselves by feeling that we have to subscribe to a left and right wing or a political party? Or do we have to feel like we have to fit a box and a title that they have subjugated upon us? Because when we were born into this world, there's no creator that said, oh, you're a Republican now that you've been born. You're an infant. You don't know anything about this stuff. This stuff is taught. We grow up. People grow up into some of these, groups and these antics, and this rhetoric is pushed upon us. So I don't know. We can blame politicians, but at some point, people in general have to have these conversations and get together and say, are we causing divisiveness? Are we not liking somebody because of what they think or because of their opinions? Now, I do agree that you can have your feelings about someone based on how you're treated. And that's how I go about how I feel about someone, is how they treat me personally. I don't care what they look like. I don't care their, ethnic, their nationality, ethnicity. It's how they treat me. That's what I go off of. Yeah, my cat is doing something. I don't know what she's doing. She did something in the room. It's true. They are talking about destroying the third temple to bring about Armageddon. Okay. You said, can we agree Trump divided us? Trump, here's the interesting thing about Trump, y'all, that I want to touch on this. So before Trump got into office, he was actually cool with a lot of celebrities that are melanated, right? He went to Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston's wedding. That's actually in Bobby Brown's book. I read his book. Very interesting book, by the way. He was actually with that woman. What's her name? Omarosa, that melanated lady. Y'all remember when he had that show? He said, "You're fired." I forgot the name of that show that he had. When Donald Trump went to run for office, I didn't even think he was serious. I was like, is he really serious? I couldn't fathom the thought that a celebrity reality star would be running for president, y'all. I didn't even think that was a possibility to be taken seriously. But when they put him on the ballot and they actually voted for him and he got into office, I was like, oh my goodness. Now, the interesting thing that I found out about that situation, that was in 2016 when they ran, for office and they had the vote, is that Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote, but Trump won the electoral college vote, if I'm saying that properly. He won that vote. So my thing is, does the popular vote really count? Because Trump still got into office. Trump got out of office, and now Trump is back into office again. So what's really going on here? You said, LOL, the country has never been united. The country, Michael Simpson, has never been united. Thank you for saying that. That is very true. Blacks will always be that way. How do you like it? I don't know what you mean by that. She probably means left. For the most part, she's being pretty fair, in my opinion. I don't know what COMMIES means. Mills, do you care to expand or elaborate? I mean, you're making statements and then laughing at your own self. Okay. No, Joe, you are uneducated. Okay. Joe King, Israel is the only country stopping Muslims from trying to take over every country. Okay. You said if she wasn't being fair, I wouldn't still be watching. Hermans, I just believe in listening to your own mind, like actually sitting and not just getting mad and triggered sometimes when you hear somebody say something, but actually listen to what they're saying, because you'll be surprised. You can learn from anybody. You can even learn from your enemy. So like I said, I did not agree with some of the things that Charlie Kirk said. I watched his speeches in their entireties. People came into my chat section saying, you're taking it out of context. You're just looking at bits and clips. No, I did not agree with all of his rhetoric. Now, I do agree, and I spoke on this on prior videos, when he said there needs to be more fathers in melanated households, because we know that that is an issue that's taking place. And I did say that melanated people need to fix their own problems, because I don't have the tolerance for a lot of ignorance that goes on. And you're talking to someone that has lived around. I've been to an all-white school, and I've gone to a predominantly all melanated school, okay? And I've gone to a diverse mixed culture school. I come from a diverse background. So this is why I see things from different vantage points and perspectives. So I don't like the fact that people make blanket statements without actually claims to support what they're saying. So that's how I feel about stuff like that. Trump is the best thing to happen to this country. Sleepy Joe almost destroyed the country. Now I'm going to tell you what I think, Rocks, on that. I didn't agree with Joe not tending to those borders. I thought that was egregious behavior. I think it put our country at risk, allowing foreigners to come over here undocumented. We did not know what was on their criminal backgrounds. A lot of these people came over here committing violence, committing crimes. You know, there's a young lady by the name of Dakara Thompson. I don't know if y'all looked her up. She actually was unalived by somebody that, you know, I think he had a run-in with ICE, I believe. And basically now he's being held for the unaliving of Dakara Thompson. I spoke about that on the channel as well. So we need to be real careful when we make, you know, statements and claims. I really think Joe, and I think that was done intentionally, opening up those borders, allowing the floodgates to open with them coming in and not having enough border control. That's where I did agree with Trump about that. Okay. I don't think that should have been happening, because have we ever been able to bombard someone else's country like that? No, they wouldn't allow it. You try to go to somebody else's country undocumented and see what's going to happen. You're going to get deported. They're not going to allow that. Okay. You said judging is a form of self-preservation. I think it's a commonality that the first thing people like to do is to self-preserve. You said, I'm not doing that. Obama divided us. Okay. Patrick Curley can't spell someone's name even when it is on the screen. Trisha said, thanks, you're welcome. Joe King, now we've been divided since the founding of, yes, Michael Simpson. This is true. We've been divided since the inception of this country. We live in two different Americas at the same time. That's very true. That's very true. You said color means nothing. I would hope that color means nothing, Hermans. I would hope that it means nothing. But, you know, what I wish that people could do is, I wish, you know, this, now Tupac said this a long time ago, Lassane Crooks. I think that was his real name, y'all. You got to be careful with these people, because a lot of them are not who you think they are. But if we could switch places for one day, just 24 hours, and I would say maybe even like a week, just to get a full inception of what that particular person has to go through, and then you could see it from a different perspective. But it's hard to see things when you have a closed mind. I don't like closed-minded people. I'm open to have a dialogue with people if they're willing to have an open mind. But if you're very closed-minded and you know you make like ignorant comments, I don't really have time for that. Israel is buying out the country's poly tricksters. Ooh, Black women have been used as scapegoats by the Democrat Party. The country will get better when people judge each other for the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King did say that, even though I think Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had some of his own faults and flaws. I did do some history, researching the history into his family back in 2017, and there were things that were not, I don't think his family would have been so proud of. And he was used by the CIA as well. He said, I'm owned by George Soros. Okay. BLM. You said, great job, girly. Mega or Trump has done anything at all for them. She already said she didn't like Black Lives Matter. I said, I don't fall for that narrative, Black Lives Matter. It is funded by George Soros. And we know that George Soros also funded Antifa. So when they kept pushing that George Floyd situation to the entire nation and they came out with the Black Lives Matter, I saw that there was a narrative that was being done by the propaganda of TV and social media. And it was done to cause division. It was done, on purpose. And I spoke about that in 2020 on this channel. I think there was a deeper narrative that they kept pushing that narrative to the media. They wanted us to keep seeing that officer on him with the knee on the neck. And he was like, I can't breathe. But like I said, they pick and choose these narratives that they want to push to the public. So I think that's being done deliberately, y'all. Trump, he fired more people than have been hired. Inflation will rise. Now, Trump will fire somebody. Now, he's not afraid to fire. Do you think calling people African Americans separates Americans? Tracy, that's a good question, Tracy Love. I don't subscribe to African American, that title. Does it cause more separation? Well, I think when we're talking about people, when we identify their ethnic background or their ethnicity, I don't think that we should classify people as African Americans, because there are people that come from America that did not really derive from Africa, such as indigenous native people of this land, which I call Native Americans, American Indians. So I think that's a problem, because we keep going by titles that are given to us by someone else that does not understand that. So I really don't subscribe to African American. I don't. No, white people and Black people are actually more alike than they admit. And there are commonalities among white people and Black people as a whole. I think the thing is, people get so caught up in their emotions. They get hostile towards one another because of all these titles that were superimposed upon us, that if you don't stand for what they believe in, or if you have an opposition of your opinion, then automatically you're seen as an enemy. And that's craziness to me, because there could be, look, my daddy and me, it's funny because my daddy and me, my father and I, we have oppositions when it comes to politics, right? When my sister was sending me text messages and I was trying to send him text messages about stuff, when it was involving Trump and, things that he was saying about the borders and stuff. And my daddy was coming back saying, he felt like Trump is a dictator. And I just, people can say that because of the way he is. But, there were certain political things that I didn't agree with my daddy. But does that mean I'm going to hate him? No. That's just crazy. And there are people in people's family and people's friends in their friend groups. They've fallen out with each other because all in the name of politics. That happened back in 2016. My sister told me there were people at her job on Facebook unfriending each other that worked in the same department because of their political views. It was crazy, y'all. You said, I think the term American is good enough. So when we say American, y'all, let's talk about it, because I used to work for a credit card company. So I've worked in customer service. I've worked for banks. A lot of times when I went on job interviews, because of the way I spoke, I would go for one type of job, and then they would want to put me on a job to communicate with people. They wanted to put me on the phone to talk to customers. And I, for one, like to protect my energy. So I didn't necessarily want to speak to a lot of these people, because a lot of people are very rude. You know how they say the customer is always right? I understand that, but I feel that even when you're calling into like a place of business, you need to show that person respect, because that person is there to do a job, and that doesn't give you a right to disrespect them. But people always feel, and this goes for white people, this goes for Black people, they feel a sense of entitlement. They can be very rude. And sometimes that type of stuff, you don't really want to sit there and listen to it in your ear all day. But when I would go in for these jobs, they will always want me to talk to the customers. Always talk to the customers. But sometimes you would get these other accents that you couldn't understand. And then people would get on the phone with me and say, oh my goodness, thank God I'm speaking to an American speaking person. Like you actually speak English. You said Black Americans are Americans not from Africa. Thank you, Knights. Did you vote for Biden or Kamala? No, I didn't, Justin. Does that make a difference? I mean, does that really make a difference right now that we're having this conversation? I don't understand how that has anything to do with anything. America was founded on Freemasonry. Freemasons worship Lucifer, the fallen one, and it was the Europeans that were Freemasons. Joe King said exactly, Americans are Americans. Example of political violence coming from the right, please. Trump has put our country in peril, putting inept people in the cabinet and shutting down our country, and then tried to stimulate the economy with printed money. Racism and ignorance exist on both sides. Politicians have done a number on America. Yes, they have, Joe King. Say that again. They really have. And it's so sad. It is so sad. I wish that America could come together on a public platform and have these conversations without attacking people. But even when they're running for office, do you understand and do you get to see like these presidential campaigns and they'll start like attacking that one person's character and such did this like 10 and 15 years ago, or this person was convicted of X, Y, and Z, and this person did this. Like they go back in their history and find out anything that they did when they were younger, and they start attacking. I can't stand to see those antics, and they pay a lot of money for that stuff, y'all. Tracy Love, African American is a white term. Black people identify as black. I don't identify as black either. But African American is a white term that we didn't create. Americans. Agreed. Joe really mess up the beauty of our country if we just step aside. Is REAL is trying to start. Y'all, Ether, I'm telling you, I really think they want to start World War III. I really think they're trying to get our nations to get involved. And I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want this country going to war. I don't want these nations going to war. That's going to be a very ugly day if that happens. I really hope we can do everything we can do to hold our country together to stop us from going to have to go to World War III. I don't want that to happen, because when I did some research, they already predicted World War III, and it was written as if it had already happened. They said in 2026 was basically World War III, as if it had already happened. Same thing like the Charlie Kirk situation. You know how they said they allegedly assassinated him? There was a book that they had published out on Amazon, and it already had talked about the unaliving of Charlie Kirk. Now, I find that very ironic that they would already have that out there before the assassination, the alleged assassination, was out there. But they said that Joe Bezos pulled it off of Amazon. Y'all go research that. You said white people and black people are not alike, which is why white people don't like us. We're polar opposites. You said, what are my politics, Justin? My politics is, at this point, I don't believe in being on one side or the other, honestly, because what I've seen is a bunch of divisiveness that has caused a bunch of infighting in America, and it's gotten very nasty. It's very egregious. When I come on this channel and I try to talk about things that impact America and impact me or impact, society, people get very hostile, and the first thing they do is start talking about politics. Oh, she's a leftist. Oh, do you believe in Trump? Oh, you did you vote for Kamala? That's the first thing they go to. So I just don't even believe in one side or the other. I'm sorry, those are my politics. I don't know what more you want me to say. I feel like, Tyrese, what more do you want from me? I just think people really need to have an adult, logical conversation and not be imbalanced, right? Not be imbalanced and stop attacking each other. And, if people could do that and stop trying to throw insults around, I think we could get somewhere. Once a month, we serve in a church that is considered by the world to be an all-black church. That's a problem. You said that's a problem. Obama was a terrible president, the most ineffective president. So MAGA serious, you know what I thought? So when Obama was running, okay, now you got to understand, back in 2008 when he ran, I was a lot younger than what I am now. I've been voting ever since I was 18. As soon as I was old enough to vote, I started voting because they told me, you need to vote. So, and I felt there was an importance in voting. 2008, y'all, let me tell you what I did. I called out from work for one thing. Actually, I called out from work because he had the rally. He came to our city and I wanted to be there. I wasn't able to go to the first rally. My sister went, and her friend went with her. They went like as a little group, I guess, at her job. They all went together. And then when I went, I was going to be out there by myself. And my sister was like, no, I don't want her to be out there by herself. So guess who showed up? My sister showed up. Her spouse, who's now her spouse at the time, he showed up. And a couple of our other friends, they all showed up to, to show support. So I called out of work to go to this rally because Obama was there. And, this was like 4 more years, right? So, of course, he got elected back into office. And the first time around, I guess I was not informed enough because when you vote, it is very important to be informed on what you're voting for. But I think sometimes people are miseducated, misinformed, not aware of what's really taking place, because in your, earlier years, a lot of times you are not thinking about some of these things. You don't have like a long-lived life experience of a lot of stuff. You're going by, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So, of course, I voted for him. But after he had been in office, I started doing research and I started seeing stuff that I didn't agree with. I started seeing the truth about him. I started seeing that we basically were, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but I want to say that there was an illusion, basically. There was an illusion. And basically, I just, at that point, I started to do more research and I started to see that the Democratic Party is used to kind of like, in my opinion, mislead people in some aspects. So I didn't identify with that because I don't believe that anybody should purposely misinform people. One thing I don't agree with is miseducating anyone in order to carry out a political agenda. That's not fair and that's not right to do. But you say he was a terrible president. White people don't like y'all. I'm mixed, white, black, and Indian tribal recognized. You said white people don't like who? I don't know what you're talking about. We're trying to change the perception in the area. 8 years of Obama made it so my friend can't become legal because of the Dreams Act. Interesting. So I will say this, this was what I noticed. When Obama was in office, y'all, I was working 2 jobs. I was working at an insurance company that I was a part of for 12 years before they laid us off. And then what they did was they sent our countries overseas. So a lot of foreigners took over our jobs after 12 years. They gave us a 1-week notice. That was when I got that job. That was it was so long ago, like 2000. Was it 2? Yeah, I'm trying to think. I had it for 12 years. It was in the early 2000s when so back when President Bush was in office, when 9/11 hit, I was working at that job, y'all. I was actually I was a temp there and they made me permanent. That's what happened. So I had been there for a while. So I had seen a couple of presidents come and go. What ended up happening is they laid us off after 12 years. When Obama came into office, I was also working at a very popular bank that's owned by Germany here. When Obama got into office, they laid us off because they lost the contract or whatever. So I saw there was a difference in job changes. Now, when Trump was in office, I was working at another insurance company, an auto insurance company, where I settle auto insurance claims with attorneys and stuff like that. And I was on that job for about 8 years. And I actually purchased my house when Trump was in office. My sister purchased her second house when Trump was in office, and my parents purchased their other house when he was in office. So I think that I'm going to say the economy definitely changed from what I've seen, because I'm also a licensed realtor. So what I have seen is everybody knows that these interest rates have changed over the course of 2020 until now. They are actually going down a little bit more. They were, a lot higher. I think they were around 7-point-something%. But if you actually do the real history and the research on interest rates, there were times when interest rates were at 18% and people were still purchasing houses. So I've seen a lot change with these presidents coming in and out of office. So that's why it's really hard, because you might identify with something that one president does, and you might not identify with something that another president does. As far as the economy of this country, y'all, it seems to me that inflation is at an all-time high right now. Now they're saying it's because of what the prior office did, because of Joe Biden and all of that. So it's, to me, it's hard to tell. Saying white people don't like you is insane. Oh, and black people live, you said, and black people live white people? I don't know what that means. The worst thing for so-called black folks, because he did absolutely nothing. He didn't do anything. He didn't, Shalane. It's very true. I wouldn't worry about it. The American national identity is muddy. Thank you, Dreaming Merc. You see how I'm over here struggling, trying to like say who I identify with, because it's hard. It's like having parents and they're like, oh, well, pick me. And then this parent is saying, pick me. And you're the child and you're just trying to, it's like, it's hard to try to pick a side. Let's see. Nah, as a POC that is not white or black, trust me, you guys judge and believe the same things and have the same superiority complex. Just passing through. What's good, Joanna? We need authentic Mexican food. I love Mexican food, Joe King. If y'all want to check out, there is, I don't know if y'all all have this. It's good Mexican food at this. It's this restaurant called Zapatas. Zapatas. No habla español, y'all, but I would love to learn more Spanish. Actually, I met this Venezuelan some weeks ago. He was trying to teach me Spanish. And I work with a lot of Hispanic children. And sometimes I get the children to translate for me, because we have a lot of Spanish speakers that have come over here since that border was open, coming from El Salvador, Ecuador, Cuba, all over Venezuela. A lot of these Hispanics have come over here. They don't speak English. So one of the principals wanted to hire me to be like what's called an English learner, to teach these children English, because they don't speak English. So a lot of them are over here now. And we have to actually break the language barrier. And I wish that the school would actually have taught us Spanish when I was younger. But when I was in school, they taught us German, because I was living in Germany. And I wish that we would have more like a bilingual culture here in America. But English is pushed around the nation as being the language of it's like the international language. So if you go to a different country and you don't speak their language, most people speak English because it's taught to them in school. No idea why she put me down. I didn't say anything incorrect. Let me see. Caviche, I don't know what that means. I'm black and you are buying the Dems narrative. You are on the slave fields of the Dems. Okay, if you think so. I'll still post your comment if that makes you feel better. What are you doing on my page? How the hell did you come up here? Cut the heck off. I don't look. So Amiro came over here to post this comment. Y'all give her some attention, because she needs it. You know, she's feeling low vibrational today, and hopefully we can help make her day great again. Okay. It's amazing how these politicians got us arguing with each other. But the bottom line is we are the ones that have been played. Yes, as idiots, while they sit back and laugh at us while spending our money. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And y'all, sometimes these countries, like I feel that when 9/11 happened, they tried to blame Osama bin Laden, but they said that George Bush put his family on a plane and flew them privately out of America. I don't even believe that narrative that the people got on the plane with box cutters and attack the cockpit. I don't even believe that. Honestly, I don't. I actually did my research into that. A lot of those videos have been stripped off the internet as well. There are people of all races who work hard and want to create a better life. Thank you, Christopher, for themselves and their communities. This is so true. When I talk to a lot of people that came to America from different nations and countries, I ask them usually what brought you to America, and they say they wanted a better life for themselves. There was better opportunity here. One of my colleagues, she's a fellow realtor, and she believes in a lot, and like she sent her children to private schools. Her and her husband are college educated, and I asked her, why did they come to America? She said it's better opportunity here. They all say the same thing. You said, dude just did one at NASCAR. Anyway, systematic oppression versus individual experience. It's a lot of that going on. A lot of systematic oppression does still happen. And some people's individual experience can be different until they run into systematic oppression as well. Dave Chappelle, okay. Trump made all his rich friends money by shutting down our country. Craziness. So you said NASCAR is white's fave. Okay, I'm white and it's okay with me for the white chicks. Okay, Magasaurus. Did you watch the video? White people created the race theory propaganda, not Black Americans. Why would I want to talk to the people who think I'm a minority and can't do what a white man can without having a white liberal think they're motivating us? Very true, Knights. Very true. Yeah. So I don't believe in that whole minority title either. I think what it is you get more melanated people in certain pockets of cities like Chicago, like major cities, you're going to find more melanated people or more concentrated there. But to say that we're a minority, I don't believe that, because we know that, first of all, Africa is like the largest continent on the globe. It's 3 times the size of the United States. And we know that they're very highly populated there. But we're everywhere. Melanated people are everywhere, you know, even in Europe, even in the UK. They just don't publicize it as much. If you watch, there's 3 or 4 series documentary called Hidden Colors by Tariq Nasheed. It will be very eye awakening, and it's very enlightening to see that video about how they basically whitewashed the narrative of melanated people as well. You said it doesn't matter. White is not a race. Black dude dressed up as whiteface and went to NASCAR race making fun of white people. I didn't even know that happened, Turtle. Regardless of who's president or governor, we got to wake up the next day and work. The billionaires are making life work. This is very true. I heard she brought in abortion trucks. I don't know if it's true or not. That's craziness. I think Hillary was in favor of the A word. What is Plummer going to tell me about the function of government? It doesn't matter who made it. It is who continues to perpetuate it. True. Kamala Harris, an educated, privileged woman, and her code switching was concerning and it did seem unauthentic. Haas. That's why I did not identify with her. I couldn't. The Bible is mind control. You can't use logic against it. Yeah. So sometimes you do have to question the Bible too. And there's some things that I feel are hypocritical in the Bible. You said, yes, I don't care about what a famous person think. They don't share my struggle or understanding. Thank you, Ether. No, they don't. They do not care at all. We specifically, will farmers tell me about the limits of the federal government and the state government? It was the accents that got me. Oh, they said she tried to like change her accents and stuff. Did I hear her do that? I'm trying to think about what video I watched where she did that, but I did hear about that. Struggle is not understanding government. A singer will also hold no understanding at all. And I didn't agree when Cardi B came on telling us, you know, about Joe Biden. And I'm like, why did they have Cardi B on here telling us about Joe Biden and the Democratic Party? Like, y'all, it's just an insult. I just can't. I don't really care, but like, why is a singer versus a carpenter in terms of government? Vance, this dude can't be serious. He believes in the CEO monarchy. We need more moderates who can agree to get along for our country to thrive. Very true. Huss, I love your comment. That's so true. How do you take a moderate stance on ethnic cleansing? My eyes were given to me by God himself, and they see no color in the world. I have friends of all races, and for anyone to judge the color of a person's skin will face God. You speak great facts. They know. They just think they will be in the big room when that dystopia happens. We need actual leftists. Look up what leftists actually want. You're being lied to. Okay. What's good, Lone? Yeah, you go off of how people treat you. Exactly. I think we all would do that. Go off of how people treat us. You said we pretended Bobby Brown is a stand-up guy. Who said Bobby Brown was a stand-up guy? I said he wrote a book. I said that he was married to Whitney Houston and that Donald Trump went to their wedding. That's what I said. What do you mean stand-up guy? I also said that Donald Trump was hanging around a lot of melanated people before he became the president. So the narrative started to switch and people started to say that after he got in office, a lot of the celebrities started using race baiting and saying that he is a racist. And I just didn't understand where that narrative was coming from all of a sudden, because I feel like celebrities are used to cause divisiveness in politics. Dream, Ming, Merck, where are you getting your stuff from? Also, the Nixon administration would have some words. Okay. The Apprentice. Yes, The Apprentice is the name of that show that he was on. There are reality stars. None of it is real. It's all scripted, but keep thinking your vote matters. I also think it's all scripted. Motivate. I like your name, by the way. So only politicians with their own interests should run. Hillary told him to run. He was a guest on The View numerous times. Him and who are y'all talking about? All right, let me keep going. You said Trump did divide us. Y'all got so, I don't think I'm gonna have time to read all y'all comments, okay? But I did try to get through most of them. He talking about OJ Simpson. Oh, am I this far behind? Y'all. Okay. Babylon has fallen. America is not going to survive. Yahweh has judged her. I really do think this country is being judged by a greater force right now, y'all. And I think we really need to get it together and come together in unity. I don't think that Mother Nature is playing with us. I really don't think Mother Nature is playing with us at all. At all. And I don't care if you feel like you're a Republican or Democrat or whatever it is. Y'all, people just got to get right in their hearts. Whatever you believe, whatever your religion is, I don't care. I don't believe in religion, but I do believe in spirituality. I think we all are innately come into this world knowing right from wrong. I don't think we need a Bible to tell us that. I think we all know if we're causing harm to someone or being mean to someone. I think we all know that if we are being hateful, so I don't think this is something that has to be taught through way of politics or in any other matter. And it also has something to do with how you're brought up and raised as well. Okay, because indoctrination is powerful, y'all. It's very powerful. You said freedom. He never been free. That is our identity. We're the royal house of Israel. What are you trying to say? Why you got to assume she from the South? She's not from the South, bro. Do I have a Southern tang to the way I speak? Because I think I do have, like, in my dialect, like when I talk, I do have a Southern tang, and I tried to get rid of it, but unfortunately, it has befallen upon me. What do you consider the South? That's my question to you. What do you consider the South? American went to war and died to be free. You said shalom. Go around the world enslaving and murdering. It ain't melanated people's power. All right, I'm just scrolling through the comment section. It says we can be prejudiced against someone, but we don't have that kind of power. Very true, Big Papa Cowboy. Very true. Racism is based on the ability to control aspects of money, education, policies, policing, religion, and many other things. We don't have the ability to control any of that. That's very true. Why do all of the agitator channels have this weird crop? Proving astrology. So proving astrology, you're into astrology, so am I. Well, no one else does. Let me see here. That's how it looks to me and many POC. Systematic racism. Okay. I think I went through most of the comments. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I'm going to be signing out. I thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to the moderators that joined the building. You all know that I'm going to end with my favorite phrase. I want to say, make sure that you like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the channel. This is not a channel for race baiting, but this is a channel just to have these conversations. And I do, even the people that didn't agree with me, I appreciate you for still coming on and, putting your comment in the comment section, because I think that we do need to have these conversations. We need to stop with, putting titles on people, because when I walk into a store, if I go out into public, I'm not looking at people saying, oh, is this person a Democrat? Is this person, left wing, right wing? Are they Republican? Do they believe in Trump? Do they believe in Kamala? I'm not thinking like that. And when I go, to the doctor, I'm not looking at that person. Oh, is this person, of this ethnic background? Are they this? Are they that? Now, I do have to say we have to be careful with everybody, and doctors, you know, because misdiagnosis is a real thing out here, and we have to do our own research. But I don't think that when we encounter people, at least for me, my first thoughts are not, oh, well, let me see what their religious background is. Oh, well, let me see what their political background is or what they believe in. Like, whatever I'm trying to get done at that time, whatever I'm trying to get accomplished, that is what I'm focused on. When I call, you know, into like AT&T, or if I call in for the internet, or if I'm having issues with my cable, I'm not going to sit on the phone with that person and say, well, what are your religious and your political backgrounds and viewpoints? Like, that's craziness to me, y'all. It's craziness. We're all in this world trying to live, and not just trying to survive, because some of us are in survival mode, but some of us are trying to thrive in this lifetime. And this life that we live is very short-lived, y'all. We have a very limited time frame to be here. And I will not be spending my time with hate in my heart, with, you know, for people that don't like me, you know, but I will use this platform to be enlightening for people that have to go through the experiences that I've walked through. And if that offends others, I cannot apologize for that. Okay. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been an episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. Shout out to everybody that's been in the building. I wish you a prosperous day, and thank you for helping us to make America great again. I am signing out. Everybody continue to walk in your divinity. Haben Sie alles einen guten Tag. Everybody have a good day, okay? All right, y'all. Let's make it a prosperous one and celebrate yourself. Yes, I'm not apologizing, Big Papa Cowboy. Not at all. All right, y'all. Stay winning, and I'll talk to y'all later.